My three brothers and I are all top-tier omegas. Just as ambitious, none of us wants to get married. Grandpa left a will. Whoever fathers an heir will inherit the entire fortune. My eldest brother reluctantly started looking into arranged marriages. My second brother turned to medical technology for help. As for me, I quietly blended in among poor college students. I set my sights on the most handsome, best athlete, and most irresistibly scented alpha. Make me pregnant within 3 days, and I'll pay you 3 million. Enough? I asked. He chuckled lightly. You don't need 3 days. 1 night is enough. Chapter 1. Look, he's here again. Several eyes from the basketball court followed me, full of excitement and curiosity, openly scrutinizing me. He's definitely interested in you, they teased, nudging and elbowing the guy who was drinking water. He casually glanced my way, then tilted his head back to drink. Sweat rolled down his throat and into the hollow of his collarbone. I swallowed hard, gripping the seam of my suit pants. It was unbearably hot. Wearing a suit, tie, and slicked back hair to watch a college basketball game was ridiculous, but I had no choice. An hour from now, I had a meeting at the company. A few days ago, my assistant told me that the rich Omega paying big for a child flyers I had spread were all removed, and the people involved had been questioned. Frustrated, I had no choice but to give up that scam-like method and find my target in person. The guy had already looked away, saying nothing, and turned back to play. He knew I was watching him, and he knew I was here for him. A faint trail of pheromones drifted through the air. I easily caught his subtle tea scent, bitter at first, then sweet. Exactly the type I liked. Face, check. Body, check. I did a little background check. Good grades, strong physique, simple romantic history. A child from this combination should turn out just fine. A few cheers pulled me back to reality, and the ball rolled to his feet. They started egging him on to pick it up, and he really came over. The way his hair bounced when he ran was adorable. He bent down in front of me, smoothly twirling the ball with one hand, raising an eyebrow. Uncle? Need something? Uncle. Outrageous. I'm only 3 years older than you. Oh, he said. I thought he'd call me brother. But that was it. A 2-second silence, and then he stepped back, turning to leave. I quickly called out, Elijah, can you spare a few minutes after the game? He looked back at me, holding the ball, saying nothing. Pursed my lips. I have a business proposition. The truth was, the business was awkward to mention. Politely, I provide the money, you provide the effort, and the world gains another child. Frankly, I was hiring him to sleep with me for a few nights. No other choice. Grandpa's final order was clear. The brother who fathers an heir inherits everything. Everything. Enough to shake all of City A upside down. I understood Grandpa's intention. The three of us, top-tier Omegas, obsessed with careers and not wanting a family, had made him desperate. My eldest brother hired a matchmaker to find a suitable arranged marriage partner. My second brother spent a fortune screening sperm banks for the best genetic match. Me? I had no moral qualms, didn't want to spend much, and just wanted a shortcut to produce Grandpa's heir quickly. Poor college students were perfect broke but physically strong. A few nights would suffice, a little money as a send-off, and they'd think they'd gotten a great deal. Lucky for me, my heat would hit next week. Elijah watched me fumble over my words, chuckling. This kind of awkward business, do I look desperate for money? My enthusiasm immediately deflated. This poor student seemed principled and proud. Watching him walk away, I felt a twinge of frustration. After some hesitation, I silently raised the offer from 10,000 to 100,000. Elijah sank a 3-pointer. Fine, 200,000. He made a slick steal. Maybe 50,000 then? I knew I'd lose badly in a negotiation with this mindset, but after meeting Elijah, I simply couldn't look at anyone else. The first time I saw him was in the cafeteria. I was secretly watching to see who ate the worst. Amid the crowd, someone bumped me, and I was unexpectedly caught in Elijah's arms. Careful, he said, voice incredible. I looked up, stunningly handsome. His tray had only a bit of vegetables, no rice. Clearly poor. His friends joked, patrolling the cafeteria in a suit? Either selling insurance or cleaning supplies. Can't be a CEO, haha. I glanced at my Patek Philippe and thought luxury ads are useless. The poor wouldn't recognize it. Elijah's eyes lingered on my wrist, then on my face, before a faint, knowing smile appeared. He recognized it. He had ambition. He was the one. That was when I made my decision. When I secretly upped the price to $1 million, my secretary called everyone had arrived for the meeting. Reluctantly, I stood, glancing at Elijah one last time. Under triple defense, he jumped, the ball arcing perfectly into the hoop without the net even moving. Fine, $1.5 million. As I slowly approached the exit, a basketball skimmed past my hair, smashing into the guardrail with a loud crash. I jumped, turning to see Elijah walking toward me. Why did the ball keep coming my way? Heart still racing, I patted my chest as he whispered, "Not going to make the deal, boss?" Boss. The word hit me. He didn't even know anything yet, and he already called me that. My face turned bright red. He came closer, leaning in, whispering just for us, "Not buying me." Then, boom, my brain exploded like fireworks. He knew what I wanted. Nervous and flustered, I stammered, How did you know?" He snorted softly. "Your eyes have undressed me 800 times already." I immediately grabbed my phone to check nonsense. My gaze was pure. "Let's go." When I looked up, he had already taken a few steps forward. "Where?" I asked. "Let me check the goods." My mind raced about the meeting, but my body followed. Check the goods? Was he sniffing my pheromones or inspecting my muscles? To my shock, he led me straight to the bathroom and started slowly undressing. My phone vibrated nonstop, my secretary's frantic calls, but I didn't move, just stood there frozen. I'd seen many alphas in my life, but never fully. Elijah turned on the shower. "What?" I asked, confused. "You're sweaty," he said politely. Oh, that was polite. But to an omega like me, inexperienced in romantic affairs, this politeness only made it more torturous. I tried not to look, but my eyes inevitably traced from his ankles upward. The water stopped abruptly. I ducked my head. Through the mist, his form loomed closer. That area unexpectedly in view. Wholly so big. I looked up just in time to meet Elijah's deep eyes, frozen in awe. He stood too close. His body heat made me dizzy. 2 million was worth it, I thought. Amid the scent of body wash, another familiar smell spread, the subtle, comforting scent of his pheromones. "Let me smell yours." He leaned in for a light hug, feeling his breath on my glands. My whole body tensed. My mind spun. He was asking me, but that's why I was here. I carefully released a bit of my pheromones, then held back. Closer at my neck, too little. A little more. Tisk! His warm fingers pressed gently on my gland. "Smelling doesn't cost money. Be generous, boss." A sudden ache in my neck, I couldn't control it this time. My pheromones poured out. The bathroom filled with our combined scent. The temperature rose. He straightened, smiling, tangy. "Like yogurt." "Oh." He sounded uninterested. I tensed. "You don't like it?" "Don't drink it, too sweet." But as pheromones, quite pleasant. My mind was on a roller coaster. Reason reminded me I'm the buyer. I must keep control. "Oh, yours," I paused, feigning calm. "Not bad." He smiled again, lazy but not annoying. "So, Oliver, boss, how long do you plan to not bad me?" "Huh? How did he know my name?" I was about to ask when my phone rang, my second brother's signature ringtone. "Oliver, how long do you want to make everyone wait?" I rushed back to the office, my gray suit still damp with sweat. My second brother was leaning against the conference room door and frowned when he saw me rushing in. Looks like I was in for a scolding before the meeting even started. He was halfway through his lecture when he suddenly covered his nose. "What is that smell? Where the hell have you been?" I sniffed subtly. Elijah's pheromones were still clinging to me, strong and assertive. "Nowhere yet." He froze for a second, then scoffed sarcastically. "You make our eldest brother look sane." I shrugged nonchalantly. Absurd, but effective. Efficient. Efficient or not, me spreading my legs for some random guy. Ah, kill me now. Not in this life, not in the next. I noticed his dark-skinned bodyguard tighten his fists slightly. He was staring at my brother with a steady, serious gaze, completely unnoticed, while my brother kept mocking me for chasing some random guy. I swallowed the words that had been on the tip of my tongue. Amusing. The meeting dragged on until evening. After the shareholders left, I sank into my chair, pinching the bridge of my nose, exhausted. After a while, I grabbed my phone. No messages from Elijah. His profile had only a single dash. Blocking me? Really? I studied his avatar and background picture over and over. Then, when I returned, I noticed a new message. "Male student classes over." Huh? Why would he tell me that? I thought for a moment and replied, "Meeting's done." He replied almost instantly, "Okay. You decide, or should I?" Hotel. I stared at those two words for a minute, heat rising through me. Was this moving too fast? I thought we'd drag this out until next week. My heat isn't even here yet. Books say being marked too early hurts, and honestly, I wasn't ready. I spun in my chair, holding my phone, and then froze. Wait, how is he so confident? No hesitation, just accepting it immediately, not even asking for money. I considered carefully, then asked cautiously, Elijah, have you done this before? If he said yes, no matter how much I liked him, I'd walk away. Don't worry, I'm cleaner than the white jade guardian lion at your front gate. Our old estate had a white jade guardian lion at the entrance. Grandpa's superstition, someone polished it daily with silk. If Elijah even knew about that, it meant he'd done his homework on me. He'd been watching me all this time. I didn't mind someone so prepared it saved the awkward self-introduction. Still, when I left the conference room, I had my secretary redraft the contract with extra clauses, just to avoid future disputes. The hotel was Elijah's choice high-end, probably considering my status. When I arrived, he was in a bathrobe, focused on his laptop. He looked up as I entered, expression neutral, still some homework left. Need to submit tonight. His calmness threw me off. I sat briefly on the sofa, then walked to the bed, feeling awkward, then stood up again. I'll shower first. The words made my face heat instantly. An unspoken adult hint, and everyone gets it. Elijah looked up, screen light reflecting in his eyes. Okay. His tone rose slightly, sounding pleased. In the bathroom, my heart raced. Over the years, I'd known plenty of alphas, but I'd been focused on staying at the top of City A's wealth rankings. No time for romance. And low-tier alphas never impressed me. High-tier ones were either arrogant or players. Elijah's rating must be high, though which type, I had no idea. Doesn't matter. I'm just paying for convenience. I can't comprehend my eldest brother putting half his fortune on the line, and my second brother injecting himself to suppress heat. Painful. I set down the hairdryer, stared at my reflection, and took a deep breath. Yeah, my choice is smart. Sooner or later I'd have to do this, might as well try it tonight. If he didn't work out, I could still switch. When I opened the door, Elijah had closed his laptop and was scrolling his phone on the sofa. Hearing the door, he looked up, eyes openly impressed. I awkwardly tightened my bathrobe and approached slowly. Hair. I froze. Better down. Oh, so he thought my slicked back hair looked bad. I remembered him calling me uncle before and subconsciously touched my hair. A bit annoyed. I'd spent half an hour on it this morning. But as my eldest brother said, a too mature look doesn't suit me. Looks more like a CEO that way. Elijah smiled. Oliver, you are already one. No need to try so hard. Small talk done. Now the contract. I started digging in my bag, but Elijah suddenly stood beside me. Wait, don't rush. Oliver, you have a big appetite? I stopped, confused, looking at him, and suddenly understood. My face immediately heated. I am not sure, I stammered. I'd never done this before. How could I know my appetite? I wasn't interested in this normally. Elijah blinked, slightly puzzled, but nodded. I've been hungry a long time. Want to eat a lot. Oh sure, I can handle that. Eat as much as you want. I work out, my core is strong, I should manage. Where do we start? I remembered scenes from movies and novels usually starting with kissing the chest. Suddenly, Elijah got up and opened the door. The hotel staff loudly announced room service. A cart rolled in, the table piled high with food. Damn it. I hastily tied my half-open bathrobe and dove under the covers, utterly embarrassed. Even through the blanket, I could hear Elijah holding back laughter. Sorry, Oliver. I really didn't have dinner, was starving. He patted the bulging covers. Want some? Because if you don't eat, not enough strength to get the job done. Huh? I stayed silent, afraid of misinterpretation. Elijah leaned closer, laughing softly through the blanket. If you get hungry midway, I won't have time to stop and call room service. Then I'll have to feed you something else. The hotel food was surprisingly good. I finished 2 shrimp dumplings and picked up a piece of flaky pastry, focused on eating, when I suddenly realized Elijah had stopped moving and was staring at me. I instinctively slowed my chewing and swallowed with a gulp. Something on my face? Corner of your mouth. The pastry had crumbled, as expected. I raised the back of my hand to wipe it, but it felt awkward. I stood up to grab a tissue from beside Elijah. Before my hand even touched it, he grabbed my wrist. With a gentle tug, I fell unprepared into his lap. Face to face, close enough to feel each other's breath. I instinctively tried to pull away, but he held my waist in place. Now I was sitting steady. His body was firm, slightly hard. Oliver, since you're keeping me. He cupped my chin, tilting my head up slightly. Why do it yourself? The half-eaten pastry dropped onto the carpet. Neither of us cared. I realized Elijah liked to start with kisses. His tongue traced the corner of my lips softly, then pressed gently yet assertively inside. The scent of the pastry's osmanthus mixed with his faint tea-scented pheromones, and I swallowed it all down. When the kiss ended, I rested my head on his shoulder, panting. The hand that had been resting on my back slowly moved upward, finally stopping at my gland. Can I bite? My brain spun, thinking became difficult. Bite? Oh, marking? That probably wouldn't help with getting pregnant, and I'd heard marking could be painful, so I shook my head. No. His fingers paused in a circle over the gland, then slowly withdrew. All right. Suddenly, my body felt weightless as Elijah lifted me by my thighs. The loose bathrobe fully opened as he laid me down on the bed. Even with the robe open, I couldn't relax. I instinctively tried to cover myself, but he pressed my hands onto the mattress. Elijah looked down at me from above, his gaze intense and direct. With every inch his eyes traveled down, the heat in them deepened. Finally, his gaze settled on me, and he curved his lips into a faint smile. Can we use the hotels? He asked. I didn't buy any. Didn't buy what? I saw him reaching for a small box in the cabinet and suddenly snapped back to reality. Damn, hadn't signed the contract yet. I quickly tied the robe again and handed the contract to him. Elijah's smile slowly tightened. So, it's not about keeping me, you just want a child? I felt a little guilty. Yes. He flipped through the contract loudly, brow furrowed. Once pregnancy is confirmed, full payment is made, and the alpha may not, under any circumstances, approach, contact, or interfere with the Omega's life. I nodded. Nor reveal that he's the father. Fair terms for both sides, no reason to refuse. But seeing Elijah's expression darken, doubt crept in. He didn't seem happy. Oliver. A child cannot be born healthy without an alpha's pheromones for comfort. He didn't need to worry about that. My family had built an Omega care center for the three of us, staffed with experts who could supply pheromones. Artificial alpha pheromones could help me through heat, so surely they could carry me through pregnancy. In fact, the one I usually used was somewhat similar to Elijah's. He fell silent for a moment, then said, entering the reproductive tract inevitably leaves a mark. You'd carry my permanent mark. Don't worry. I've thought this through, I said with a smile. Once I inherit the fortune, I'll remove your mark. The technology's mature now, no harm to the body. Elijah was silent. Any more questions? I asked, anxious. What else could he be worrying about? After a moment, I decided to solve his concern with money. If all goes well, my heat hits next week. 3 days to get me pregnant, 3 million. Enough? Elijah lifted his gaze, silent. Honestly, 3 million was more than what my second brother had spent. If he still refused. 5 million then. Enough? Elijah shook his head. I hadn't expected him to be this greedy. What now? Kisses exchanged. My body seen, I regretted my impulsiveness. How much do you want? I asked, expression probably complicated. Elijah suddenly smiled. Oliver, do you really think I'm worth that much? Okay, playing hard to get. I wasn't easy to intimidate either. If you don't want to, I can find someone else. Huh? He caught me as I tried to rise. I never said I didn't want to. Then what do you mean? No 3 days needed. Elijah's lips curved. 1 night, that's enough. Exactly the alpha I'd been looking for, confident. But, he flipped through the contract, finally pointing to a line. Typo. Damn secretary. So I can't sign tonight. I'll have a new copy printed immediately. No rush. I can start fulfilling my part first. Elijah told me that if an Omega gets pregnant without proper preparation, it could be very dangerous. That was beyond my experience. How dangerous? I asked, worry creeping in. He stared at me, lips slightly pursed, speaking evenly, tears, heavy bleeding, cramps. Just hearing it made me shiver. I hated pain more than anything. So what preparation is needed? His gaze was deep, unreadable. You need to let your body gradually get used to me. Before your heat, we need to meet every day. I was usually busy. Every previous meeting with him had been squeezed into my schedule. He said it was fine, he could come find me. The next day, he showed up at the office just as I finished my morning work. He glanced at the untouched lunchbox on the coffee table and frowned slightly. It's already 1 o'clock, haven't eaten? I sipped my coffee. Got too busy to feel hungry. Besides, the lunch was cold, I wasn't interested. Elijah said nothing, sent a few texts with his head down, then put his phone away and locked the door. My heart skipped, and I took another sip of coffee. Sofa or office chair? There's a lounge inside. Elijah made me feel a little uncomfortable. The third time I tried to pull my hand away, he quietly stopped. One of my hands was forced to hold his middle finger, the other guided downward. Feel for yourself. If you can't handle a single finger, how will you handle more later? I stopped resisting. It wasn't even unpleasant, just that my body felt unfamiliar. Elijah proved, through action, that my body could feel even stranger. I avoided looking at the dark marks on his legs and said, "Check the closet for pants that fit, and change." He didn't seem bothered. "Go shower first." After a slow shower, I came out to find the table full of food. The bag bore the logo of the hotel from last night. I buttoned my shirt, then remembered something. "How much was last night's room? I'll transfer it to you." "No need, I have a coupon." College students really know how to save. I relaxed, sitting down, took a bite and instantly felt uneasy. "Why didn't you change your pants?" "No suitable pair." I immediately pulled out my phone. "Send me your size. I'll have my assistant get some." He pressed my hand. "It's not noticeable. Nobody will see." "It's not about noticeable or not." My gaze drifted unconsciously to his long, elegant fingers. My face started heating again. That was a mark, a silent reminder, clearly showing me how I had lost control earlier. "Oliver?" Elijah raised an eyebrow, smiling. "Thinking about earlier?" I was about to protest when the door knocked. "Oliver, I'm coming in." "My eldest brother." I jumped to my feet. "There's an issue with the previous deal. Confirm with me." He never wasted words, straight to business. Once everything was confirmed, he noticed someone else in the office. "You are." Seeing his slight frown made me feel uneasy. I could argue with my second brother confidently, but not my eldest. Instinctively, I was a little afraid. Afraid he'd scold me for messing around. I quickly changed the subject. "Brother, how's your love life lately?" His expression stiffened, tone displeased. "None of your business." I'd already checked. After the arranged marriage announcement, the wealthy families who matched his status all pretended to ignore him, fearing his reputation as the cold-faced king. The only one who responded was an old classmate who'd fallen out with him years ago and had returned from abroad just to mock him. So, no progress at all. Hey, if nothing changes, the inheritance is mine, and the top of the billionaire list too. Getting close to Elijah gradually became routine. Either he came to my office or we met at the hotel. Daily routine: pull out the contract, he picks faults, I scold the secretary, toss the contract aside, then start undressing. Finally, exhausted, I'd lie in his arms, chatting until I fell asleep. Our parents taught us independence from a young age. I'd slept alone since I could walk. Now, with someone beside me, I surprisingly adapted. Maybe because he was a poor student, no schemes, easy to control. Or maybe because his presence made me feel safe. Gradually, I not only accepted my body's reactions but could even handle 3 fingers. Hey, I'm impressive. But my heat still hadn't arrived. Luckily, that afternoon, I had some business near Elijah's school and suddenly wanted to watch him play basketball. Before I realized it, I was walking down a familiar street. "Are you at the court?" He replied quickly, "In class." Missed timing. But I was already there, so I might as well sit and watch. These people playing like monkeys. Have they even evolved? And somehow they still manage to score? I barely paid attention for a while, thinking Elijah should be done soon, and prepared to leave. "Hello, classmate." Suddenly, someone sat at the other end of the bench. I looked around, no one else, and pointed at myself. "Talking to me?" He grinned. "You're kind of cute. No slicked back hair today. Just got off the car. Took off my jacket and tie suddenly. From uncle to cute classmate. I saw you watching for a while. You like basketball?" I did. When I was a kid, I dreamed of winning a championship. Growing up, I realized some dreams were just dreams. But at least let me win once. I'd never won in front of my eldest and second brothers. "Which player do you like?" I froze. Which basketball star did he mean? Before I could answer, he continued, "Shy? Weren't you here to see me?" I had naively thought he knew basketball. "No." I shook my head. "I'm here to sell insurance and cleaning supplies." "Haha. Cleaning supplies? Can I use them?" "You?" "Yeah." He suddenly leaned in, lowering his voice, smiling. Right now, my mind's a little dirty. Did he just slide across the bench like that? I felt uncomfortable. Needed some cleaning for my eyes and ears. I tried to walk away and he followed. "Come on, tell me. Big brother will help your business." I sped up. "Hey, I'm talking to you." He didn't catch up because Elijah appeared in front of me, silently wrapping his arms around me. From behind came a faint curse. I'd seen all kinds of alphas, many think they're charming, then throw tantrums when they don't get what they want. I didn't care. Kept my eyes on my phone. "Do you still have class?" "So go. I'll head back myself." We walked for a long stretch. Elijah didn't speak. I glanced at him, his jawline was tense. "What's wrong?" He pursed his lips and spoke slowly. No class. Go to my dorm. Good thing I was only wearing a shirt. Dodged the dorm supervisor. Roommates home? No. So tired have to climb a few flights? Almost there. He answered every question calmly. But looking at his back, something felt off. Subtly, I sensed he was in a bad mood. On the stairs, someone greeted him, eyes drifting to me. Elijah suddenly stopped and, without a word, grabbed my hand. A little surprised, but I was more concerned about another thing. Why do they call you Master Elijah? Are you bullying people here? He muttered something vague and opened the door. Go shower. So direct. I wanted to chat a little longer. No change of clothes? Later, then. I looked around the dorm. Not convenient here. Where mine? He was so stubborn, insistent. I felt a little annoyed. Who's paying for whom here? Not in the mood right now. We blocked each other at the doorway, neither giving in. He looked at me calmly. When will you be in the mood? Does he really think I think about that all day? Sure, that's our arrangement, but in this brief time, shouldn't there be other memories? I got more and more irritated. Mind your own business. I sidestepped him, inspecting the dorm layout. By one bed were a few posters. I leaned closer. Then his hand suddenly grabbed my arm hard. A sharp tug forced me to meet his gaze. Want someone else? I froze. Huh? Not me, then who? Who else but you? Elijah pressed his lips together. His deep eyes seemed to see right through me. After a long moment, he let go, dryly saying, Weren't you at the court to find a new target? I was speechless, just watching a game. Can't I? He stared a while longer, finally relaxing a little. Don't look for anyone else. His voice was muffled, serious. My irritation vanished instantly. I'm not. Tell me if I'm doing something wrong. Got it. Nothing wrong so far. Let me bite. Elijah looked at my neck. His Adam's apple bobbed slightly. There's another alpha scent on you. I can't handle it. Oh, that boy earlier parading pheromones everywhere like a peacock. Since differentiation, I'd been exposed to countless pheromones at the Omega Care Center, virtually changing alpha partners over and over. Daily life interference is negligible unless there's violent suppression. I didn't feel it, but for a naive little alpha like Elijah, subconsciously it probably felt like a huge provocation. Maybe I should shower then. He grabbed the hem of my shirt. Oliver, you were willing to let me in, why not let me bite the gland? This little brat even calls me by my first name now. I looked at him sincerely. I'm afraid of pain. Elijah's eyes flickered. Won't hurt. Really won't? Very light. One quick bite, done. He looked genuinely uncomfortable. All right. Next second, Elijah pinned me firmly against the wall. Damn liar. It hurt so much I cried. My mouth was tightly covered by him. And no matter how I wanted to yell or curse, no sound came out. I had no idea how long it lasted, but slowly the pain subsided. The pheromones he injected into my glands spread through my body, bringing a strange, overwhelming sensation. My tears stopped, but another part of me started reacting. What the hell? So weird. This damn reaction, why can't I control it? Panic surged. I struggled with all my might, but every bit of resistance felt weak, powerless. Elijah lifted his head slightly off my neck, his breath hot against me. I cursed through gritted teeth. Elijah, you trying to rebel? He didn't say a word, just pressed down harder, sucking sharply on my glands. Instantly, I went obedient. If I disobeyed again, I felt like he'd pull my soul straight out. He grabbed my chin, forcing me to tilt my head back, mouth open, swallowing a deep kiss tinged with blood. He seemed a little out of control. Panicked, hands on my waist fumbling with buttons. A deep, husky voice whispered in my ear. Oliver, I'm going to get serious now. Serious about what? Holy hell. My eyes went wide. Pain had fully awakened me, and I scrambled to escape, but there was nowhere to run. And not didn't we say wait for my heat, Emicham. His voice trembled slightly as he held me tight at the waist. You're too afraid of pain. I'm worried you won't adapt later. Right, that made sense. I gritted my teeth. Hold it together, hold it together. Number 1 on the billionaire list. I have to stay put. But I was still a pampered, high-born young master. Hurriedly surrendering myself in a college dorm just felt too crude. I don't want to do it here, hotel. Elijah didn't give me a chance to call a driver. He wrapped me in a long coat, carrying me downstairs. Once in the car, I saw him smoothly start the engine. I raised an eyebrow. Your car? He hesitated. Borrowed. Who would lend a Bugatti to a college student? Rented. Now it made sense why he followed me so effortlessly, the rich one. I thought for a few seconds, Then tried my older brother act. Elijah, young people love vanity, but you need limits. Overconsumption isn't a good habit. Elijah slammed the accelerator. I was pressed into the seat. Oliver, if you don't want the baby born in the car, shut up. I didn't just shut my mouth, I squeezed my legs together. The car finally stopped under an apartment building. I looked around, puzzled. He studied my expression. It's a place I rented. 2 servants immediately came out to help us with shoes. He finally admitted, actually, I have a little side business. I hesitated. Damn it. Elijah didn't come from some ordinary, struggling family, as the report said. He had some capital, maybe connections. I chose poor college students not just for their youth and simplicity, but because they were almost powerless against me. If an alpha caused trouble, I could easily silence them with my status and influence. I tested the waters. Elijah, do you like kids? HM? He lifted me with one arm, pushing the door open. Don't talk about stuff that kills my mood now. Guess not. I didn't like them either, but when money's involved, preferences can bend. What if this child grows up rich, and you happen to be short on cash? I paused. I mean, hypothetically, what would you do? Would he turn on me and try to take custody? Oliver. He pressed both hands on either side of me, blocking the light above. I couldn't see his face clearly, but his seriousness radiated. What if I said that at the start, I didn't even care about money? What would you think? Huh? I was dumbstruck. Then what do you want? He straightened up, decisively stripping off his clothes. I'll tell you later. First, business. Things barely got halfway done. My eldest brother called urgently. The old man's condition was critical, and I had to rush back immediately. My mind went blank. By the time I snapped back, Elijah had already helped me dress. I'll drive you. I couldn't stop trembling. Every nerve felt like frozen needles. My blood felt like ice. I did care about his inheritance, but I sincerely hoped he'd live a long life. Humans are contradictory. Reason tells me to keep my distance, but my body wants to be close. The car stopped at a red light. Elijah watched the 50-second countdown, then unbuckled his seatbelt. I frowned. He leaned in, and I dodged him just before he reached me. Elijah, I'm not in the mood. It's not what you think. He gently grabbed my chin, placing a soft, careful kiss on my lips. Unlike all those lustful kisses before, this one was gentle, reassuring. His pheromones surrounded me, easily penetrating my skin and bloodstream, probably aided by the previous marking. Slowly, it calmed every panicked cell. He was comforting me like a real partner, yet I was clearly not his omega. The light turned green. Cars behind honked. Elijah returned to the driver's seat and continued driving. I didn't shiver again all the way to the hospital. On the ride, I imagined all kinds of terrible scenes: gaunt faces, pale complexions. But when I opened the door, the old man was radiant, joking with a young nurse. Damn it, I arrived last. My eldest and second brothers nodded, then left the room. Don't scare people for no reason. I sat down irritably, grabbed an orange from the nightstand. The old man looked at my neck, then my messy collar. Eyes crinkled with laughter. I shoved half the orange into his mouth. He chewed, laughing. Finally, I can comfortably check on your parents. My heart sank. My expression froze. I wanted to see a joking trace on his face, but there was none. Stop talking nonsense. You look capable of taking them both down yourself. He smiled silently, chewing slowly. For a moment, the room was filled only with the sound of chewing. After swallowing, he looked at me, eyes full of deep attachment. My body, I know it, should just be these few days. Sunlight streamed through the window, lighting the whole room. Even his cloudy eyes seemed to shine, like the last glimmer of sunlight before it sets. I couldn't speak. Just watching him, I couldn't find words. I just worry about you three. The year I first started differentiating, my parents died in a tsunami. In a city, everyone had their eyes on the Smith family, hoping to take advantage. 3 seemingly fragile omegas. Everyone wanted to pick on us. Grandpa, already retired and spending his days tending flowers and birds, had to step back into the battlefield. Wearing his old spectacles, he led us through negotiations, fighting at the table like a general. He was our grandfather and our teacher. Years passed in the blink of an eye. I finished the orange. My hands were empty. Grandpa started urging me to leave, to go back to work, to live my own life. All right, then help me pass a message. I looked down at the orange stains on my nails, clenched my hand, and slowly relaxed it. Finally, I smiled at the little old man. You two were just having fun, enjoying being swept away by the waves? Making Grandpa and us work so hard next year. No offerings for you. Unless you come in my dreams. Bring Grandpa. Come see me. On my way downstairs, my eldest and second brothers hadn't left yet. They leaned against a car, chatting casually with Elijah. Seeing me, my eldest brother stubbed out his cigarette. We'll be going then. My second brother said nothing. He tugged at his collar and was helped into the car by his bodyguard. Was it just me? Or did he look weak? Elijah came to my side. Where are we going? I deliberately avoided his hand. Around the corner. A car slowly pulled up and stopped beside us. The driver stepped out and opened the door. I looked at him calmly. Until you figure out how to explain yourself to me, let's not meet again. 5 minutes ago, I had heard Elijah's name from Grandpa. Grandpa said he was a good guy. And indeed, he seemed nice if he hadn't been lying to me. Elijah stood there, hands hanging, motionless, gradually shrinking until he disappeared from my sight. My body was exhausted. I forced myself back to the office to finish things, then went home and collapsed into bed. Late at night, a familiar yet strange heat woke me up. I sighed, exhausted. The postponed heat had arrived at last and with a vengeance. I spent the night at the soothing center, curling up in pain. Maybe it was because Grandpa was close to passing, or because of all the chaos with Elijah lately. This heat was unusually intense. Researchers pumped pheromones into the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, waiting for the usual effects. But the usual immediate relief, it felt like scratching an itch through a sock. I twisted uncomfortably in the chamber, drenched in sweat. This is strange, young Master 3. Do you have contact info for the one who marked you? We may need him here. Elijah? What did he have to do with this? Just thinking about him made my body react even more. A stepson had the nerve to toy with me. Pissed me off. The researchers tried several more vials of pheromones, but instead of cooling down, the heat only rose. My vision blurred. Felt like a crowd was around me. Young Master 3, was this the one who marked you? On the screen he held was an ID photo of a young man. Even without seeing clearly, I recognized him immediately. Elijah. A much younger Elijah, radiating boyish energy. I had no idea where they got the info. I was in too much pain to do anything but nod. The group let out a collective sigh of relief. Murmurs went around. That makes sense now. What a coincidence, maybe it's fate. The young master's lucky we're out of a job. Stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and get him here. A mess of noise, impossible to understand. The only thing I caught Elijah, he was coming. I tried to stay conscious, but I couldn't hold on. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a familiar ceiling. My room. My bed. I turned my head. Elijah was sitting by the bed. My neck throbbed faintly. I tried to raise a hand to touch it, but he held it down. Don't touch. I bit you. Who told you to come to my house? My voice was hoarse, like I'd swallowed sand. He handed me a cup of water, thoughtfully with a straw. Your researchers called me. Remembering the chatter from earlier, I frowned and pushed the cup away cautiously. What did you do to me? Why aren't the center's pheromones working? A flicker of pain crossed Elijah's eyes. Don't look at me like that. I won't hurt you. I stared. You were the one hiding your identity, weren't you? Yes. You were the one who changed my investigation report, right? Yes. You staged the chance encounters in the cafeteria? Elijah's face went pale. That was all me. I laughed. Then why should I trust someone who deliberately approached me won't hurt me? He was speechless, probably feeling guilty. I waved my hand. You can leave. I can't leave. You need me right now. I nearly went insane yet again. The problem circled back. So, what exactly did you do to me? Faced with my fury, Elijah didn't react the way I expected. Instead, he asked a strange question. Oliver, don't you find my pheromones familiar? I had already felt that. And so what? The center has tens of thousands of pheromones. I've used so many it's normal if one matches. It's not a coincidence. It's inevitable. He pulled back the blanket and, to my shock, climbed directly onto the bed. All the pheromones configured in the center, the mother stock, it's all me. Oliver's differentiation came late, almost simultaneously with the news of his parents' maritime disaster. At that time, all of the city's news was dominated by the Smith family. People were speculating how long it would take before this once prominent family was picked apart by outsiders. After all, Oliver, the so-called last hope of the family, was just a useless, weak Omega. Worse, this poor Omega, overwhelmed with grief, developed stress-induced allergies, couldn't take inhibitors, and even had a rejection reaction to alpha pheromones. Doctors said he was destined to have his glands removed, leaving him barely able to survive. Amid these headlines, there was a small, overlooked story. The Johnson family's second-in-command had married a woman who was previously divorced. And in that small news snippet, a man named Elijah was mentioned. Elijah, a person with almost no presence, decided to do a small thing. He secretly donated pheromones to Oliver. The needle was a bit thick, but Elijah gritted his teeth and endured it. Technically, a minor alpha shouldn't participate in such donations, but there was no other option, so few people were willing to help. Everyone was watching the Smith family fortune, afraid of getting tangled with Oliver, the useless Omega, and wary that donating pheromones might harm their precious alpha bodies. By some stroke of luck or coincidence, Elijah's pheromones worked on Oliver. The previously unnoticed Elijah suddenly felt a small sense of accomplishment. He realized he was needed too. The first time led to the second, the third, until Smith family researchers used his pheromones as a basis to develop a stable and effective artificial substitute. And that's how Oliver grew up safely. Occasionally, when he saw Oliver's photos in financial magazines, Elijah couldn't help but murmur quietly, "Hey, I raised him." The Omega he raised started looking for a partner. Elijah didn't understand why Oliver, unlike his elder brother, didn't pursue a commercial marriage. Instead, he wandered around the university. He secretly asked a few classmates who Oliver had approached. The answers were, "Oh, that guy with the slicked back hair? He's here looking for men." Elijah didn't get it. Yeah, he's seeking financial arrangements, and he only wants poor, strong guys. That Omega's taste is unusual. Elijah felt like the sky was falling. It was as if the flower he had carefully nurtured insisted on planting itself in manure. He didn't sleep all night. In the end, he decided to become that man himself. But he didn't realize Oliver only wanted a seed. Elijah's voice grew lower. I felt something was off and nudged him. "What's wrong?" "They almost drained me at your researcher's lab." He looked exhausted, a hint of complaint in his tone. "I suspect they're deliberately targeting me." I understood. They were probably worried that if I had Elijah, I wouldn't need them anymore. Completely unnecessary worry. Even if I didn't, there was still my eldest and second brother. Although my eldest brother regularly used inhibitors, my second brother still visited their place. Elijah hastily closed his eyes and muttered an indifferent response. "A bit strange. Are you hiding something from me?" He didn't answer. I climbed onto him to force a response. Elijah lay there, letting me toy with him. "I have no energy right now. Do whatever you want." He paused, opened his eyes, and his black, shiny pupils locked onto mine. "In half an hour I'll collect my due principal plus interest." "Ha! With you looking this weak?" I mocked. Result, I couldn't get out of bed for the entire heat period. When I finally regained consciousness, I looked at the mess around me, a little annoyed. Why take safety measures? Such a perfect opportunity wasted. If you didn't want to, you could have just said so. I could have still changed partners. My heir to the top of the wealth list. Who would you change to? Elijah's voice sounded dangerous. I curled up under the blanket, trying to act tough. "Anyone would be better than you. Even 10 more heat periods wouldn't help." He laughed, clearly amused. "I'm just worried you'll regret it. You don't like kids. What if you know the truth later?" "The truth?" I immediately poked my head out. "What do you mean?" "Your grandfather told me that your previous will was fake. The real will splits the estate evenly among the three of you. No one more, no one less." I was stunned, speechless. But after a moment, it made sense. It was exactly the kind of thing that old man would do. Also, those little wealthy Omega-seeking child ads? My second brother had them removed. He was afraid I'd be tricked. On the day my eldest brother met Elijah in the office, he had already talked to him, confirming his real intentions and motives. And my second brother really did have a child. In the end, I couldn't beat anyone. But somehow I also won a lot. Elijah hugged me from behind. "What are you thinking about?" I secretly wiped my eyes. "Ugh, I have to go back to work." Elijah smiled softly. "Oliver, my side business is real. If you want, we can work at it together. Climb to the position you've always wanted." If you enjoyed this story, remember to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.